There's something more to reality than what meets the eye. This thing's made out of like some very bizarre energy that's attached to consciousness.
I feel like that can kind of like lead people to sadness and depression. I feel like sometimes you need the battery in your back of importance. Not you being important to other people, but the time you spend here being valuable.
Joe Rogan has a conversation with Andrew Shilts about something more to life and how there has to be something. In my opinion, I think they're missing the grand scheme of things, which is God. The missing link is God. So we're going to be reacting to it, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys. Make sure to watch to the end because I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's go.
How do you really feel about this world that we're living? This world that seems more and more like it's not real. More and more like it's a simulation.
Yeah.
I'm kind of convinced now.
What, it is a simulation?
Yeah, there's something going on. There's something more to reality than what meets the eye. There's more to it than what you could put on a scale or what you could put a ruler to. There's more to this thing. This thing's made out of like some very bizarre energy that's attached to consciousness. That's what I think.
What do you mean by this?
I think that, I think it's really possible. First of all, it's inevitable that one day they will achieve a simulation that is indiscernible from reality.
Okay.
And no doubt about it. They've gotten real close, where you could put on haptic feedback suits and you can see things and you feel like you're in a room. They're, it's crude, but it's like, Nintendo from 20 years ago versus, some modern warfare game now.
Right.
They're going to get to a point where it's indiscernible.
Yeah.
So if it does happen, how do you know? How do you know when that takes place? Now, here's the question. Is that the ultimate progression of technology? Is the ultimate progression of technology transcending physical reality and becoming completely digital life? So if that is possible, how do we know if it hasn't already happened?
Yeah.
How can we know if it hasn't already happened?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would say that if this world was scripted, it would be filled with a lot of that's exactly like what happened. Trump would get shot in the ear and say, fight, fight, fight.
Yeah.
You would have Elon Musk at the inauguration looking like he's on another planet.
Now, Joe, I just want to make the point here. You're making the argument for determinism.
No, I'm not. I'm making...
That's such a great point that Andrew Shilts made. Like, at the end of the day, there is free will. And I think as they have this conversation, they do realize, yeah, there's something going on. Yeah, maybe it's not as crazy as being in the Matrix or we're in a simulation and what reality is just what you're experiencing. No, there's something greater than yourself that's going on. There's something that is happening. And I would say, I hope as they walk down this road, they will come to realize that it is God. They are made in the image of God, and that's what gives them purpose and meaning. And they're going to have this conversation later on. And guys, also, I just want to point out, I have a membership program. If you want to support me in any way, I would love and appreciate it. It would mean the world. Let's continue.
I'm making the argument that there's a conscious interface.
Yeah.
There's consciousness, and it's interfacing with something that's not entirely real, and that is the life that we're living in.
Yeah.
And we think it's way realer than it actually is.
Yeah. So is somebody in control of it, or they're allowing us to have some semblance of control?
I feel like it might be controlled by the actual things that are inside of it. So I think our destiny is truly in our hands. I really believe that.
I like that. And then if that is the case, how is that not real?
Well, it is real
in
a sense, but I think that the actual way that things happen and work is dependent entirely on the level of consciousness that people have that are experiencing it. It sounds like very hippy-dippy and wooey, and it all comes from a lot of different things, but one of it comes from Tom Campbell, who wrote this very bizarre book that I've listened to on audiobook twice now.
Okay.
Where he's talking about essentially what we think of as reality is just a simulation.
Okay.
The whole entire thing is our consciousness interpreting everything as we experience it throughout the day. But when we are not here, that is not the same thing.
What do you mean when we're not here? When we die, you're saying?
Like when we're not, if you're not on Mars, is Mars real? Or is Mars something that we agree is real? We agree it's in a certain space and it'll only be there when we get there? Like if the universe is a true simulation,
Yeah.
imagine what a mind. You have a simulation where it's perfect in that it has all of these galaxies and supernovas.
Okay.
The moon
Yeah,
aligns perfectly with the Earth
Yeah.
to cause eclipses.
Yeah.
And without the moon being there, our entire atmosphere would fall apart and
Yeah.
we would never be able to survive.
Yeah.
So it's like this perfect little thing
Yeah.
that's set right there, and we spin around.
This is something that is so super important because Wes Huff was on Joe Rogan's show, and that was super amazing because he was able to point out the fact that the Bible is not a translation of a translation of a translation, and Joe Rogan really got to know that the Bible means the same as it did 3,000 years ago compared to now. And when they're going to get down the road, they're going to realize what they're talking about really is kind of dumb. They both understand that. But eventually they're going to realize, but there has to be more to life than just assimilation. There's something else that has purpose. Otherwise, there's no reason to play the game of life.
And worry which bathroom should we let the guy in a dress go to. And but meanwhile, it's just a show that's being put on for our consciousness.
Okay, so it's a show being put on for our consciousness, right? And then somebody's put on the show, and then we get the ability to go to the moon, and then they got to scramble and make a moon.
No, there's a moon. I mean, it doesn't matter
Okay.
wherever you go.
Because that is
there
kind of
a
funny. It's like
place.
if like our technology gets so good, and they're just going, "Fuck, we got to make this thing real." Like
This is
they're
a-
on the way.
I'm well aware if you're like criticizing me. This is a dopey way to describe it, but I, you know, if the tree falls in the forest and there's no one there, does
Yeah.
it make a sound?
Yes.
I don't even know if the tree falls if there's no one there.
Oh, wow.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced.
That's like the video game where nothing ever happens unless you go to that certain spot. That's what's kind of crazy.
I'm not convinced.
So the tree. Okay. So
I think if you take a trip to the Pacific Northwest, you will find trees.
yes.
I just don't know
Some
if
of
they're there
them-
all the time.
So they're only there in reference to us looking at them. Oh, I get what you're saying.
I think
Wait.
that's-
So you're playing a video game.
Uh-huh.
And as you move throughout the map of the video game,
It has
it
to render new
presents
levels.
itself.
Yeah.
But you're saying without us accessing it, it isn't presenting itself.
It might be the whole
They're
universe.
saving on data.
That might be the whole universe. The whole universe might be us interacting with something,
But they exist.
but it doesn't exist without us.
Yeah. And this is one of those things like, what does it matter either way?
But exists with us in this moment. Like if you jump off a cliff, you
Yeah.
will die.
Yeah.
Like gravity's real.
Yeah.
You will get pulverized.
Yeah.
No doubt. But
It's because you jumped.
it's also like your consciousness is the reason why all this is here.
Yeah,
because you're interacting with
That's
it.
the manifestation of everything, though. So I get what you're saying. Like
The structure.
Existentially, does it exist if we're not touching it, feeling it? It's what they say about like the Native Americans when they first saw the ships, they didn't know what they were.
Yeah,
so
that's bullshit. That's not real.
Exactly, but like, but I wouldn't say that it's not real in that they didn't understand what it was. In the distance, they think they were like mountains moving closer.
They probably just saw these giant pieces of wood and was trying to figure out. They had
They
structures.
might not know it's wood.
But didn't they have structures?
I don't know if they're fishing at that time. I'm not sure. But if you see them in the
I'm pretty
distance, you
sure
see them
they
moving
did have
forward.
Right.
boats
I get the
or
idea. Like your brain
canoes.
can't map what that is yet.
Right, you'd be freaked out.
So it's mapping to whatever you know. So it's like, oh, is it low tide? And there's some like sandbars out there that are slowly approaching. What the fuck is that? That's kind of what you're saying. We can't I can't understand like what a glacier is without knowing what it is. When I see a glacier for the first time, I can recognize glaciers everywhere. But if I take someone who's never seen a glacier to it,
I think this guy's going further than that. I think he's saying the glaciers aren't real unless you're there.
but if someone is there
Yeah.
at every point in time throughout the world, then everything is.
Yes.
And we
If
have enough
someone is
people
there.
where
Yes.
there's some people in Antarctica. All right, so Antarctica's always there. There's some people in Alaska. Okay, so that's always there. If we have enough people throughout the world is this congealed substance that we can look at, feel, touch, and experience.
Yeah, and it might be like the map of the game is like those NASA satellite photos of Earth. That's the map of the game. Like if you wanted to like go through a video game, and before you go through the game, it shows you like these are the arenas in which you're playing.
And you can
then-
choose one of them.
You could choose one, or you know which level you're going to.
Yeah.
like that's those NASA 3D photos of the Earth. That's what Earth is. Earth
Yeah.
is like the place where we play this consciousness game.
When you're sitting at home and you're like thinking about these things.
Yeah.
Do you like talk to your kids about it?
No, that's too weird to talk to kids about.
What about your wife? Are you like just going, hey?
She would go, what?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's super weird. I think the difficult thing is people want to find something outside of themselves, but something that they don't have to submit to, something they don't have to submit to authority. So therefore, they can still do whatever they want, but they believe in something random and crazy that has no backing or proof to anything. But they won't submit to the Bible or to the authority of God because it calls you to a higher standard. It calls you to something different. You have to give up yourself.
You're looking at the stars. You see Saturn or whatever in the
if
sky.
she wants to talk about something like that,
Yeah.
she'll bring it up. Like if she wants to talk about something heavy, it's not like I wouldn't
Yeah.
talk about something heavy with her.
Yeah.
But generally, like I come home from work, she's been with the kids,
Yeah.
she's doing this and that.
She don't need all that.
We eat dinner, we have fun, how was school, have a good time, maybe we watch a little Severance together.
Yeah.
But if she's like, did you ever think that maybe this is all isn't real? I'd be like, I'm so
Let's
glad
go.
you brought this up.
Wow.
Okay, so do you struggle battling with because some people, when they think about this stuff, they feel their own insignificance, and it's very depressing for them.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
This is
like
where it
this,
gets
So you're
really good.
unaffected entirely that like your existence in this lifetime over the grand scheme of things could not be important.
it can't be important.
But it is.
But it is to you and it is to the people around you. So
And if that
your
makes up
life
our
is-
reality, then it's important.
Sure. But why think about that? Why think about whether or not you're important? I just don't waste any time thinking about whether or not I'm important.
Maybe important is
mean,
like a pretentious
in-
word. Not important. I mean like
Don't think about the end of the game. Play the game. Don't go, oh my God, it's going to end.
Yes.
Oh, my quarter's going to run out. Just play the game.
But some people won't play the game if they know there's no game at all,
That's
or they
good.
know it is completely.
That's the problem with, I would say, some atheistic worldviews, is because if they think that there's no point to anything in this world, then what's the point of playing at all? What's the point of just giving up your entire life? But if there's a God, there's a reason to play because there's a purpose. He's given you purpose. It's not to think, oh, I'm so great and so wonderful that everyone should think of me as so amazing. But no, you have meaning, you have purpose because you're made in the image of God and God has given you value.
I think that there's this like urgency that is applied. Like, okay, I have to create the art that I want to create in this time in my life. Like time is something I've been thinking about like nonstop since I had a kid. It's like time. How do I spend time? It maybe is cliche, but it is the thing that I like value the most. And everything gets broken up into these little quadrants of time. Okay, I'm out here. I'm doing some pods. Okay, I'm away from my daughter. I'm away from my wife. How do I get back that time? How can I like create these events? Like I want us all to stay in the villa together because when we're in different hotel rooms, we miss out on those little moments in between.
Right.
Like time. And to me, it's like I'm putting an importance on this. I guess the game you say you're playing. I want to experience the most of this game as I possibly can while I'm here. And I have all these examples of people like finishing the game. You know, my dad, you know, he's got dementia and all this stuff. It's like you're seeing your ability to, I guess, manifest that reality, or you're at the kind of end of your game, you know, knock on wood. But like, yeah, I, the idea of like me being important, I don't care about like that in terms of how people see it. But in this time I have here, I want to believe it's really important, and I want to soak as much of it up as I can, you know. And I think sometimes when you're like, it's pointless, it's nothing. Like, I thought like Jim Carrey was going through that moment. Like there are these times where I'd see Jim talking about like the insignificance of the world, and I feel like that can kind of like lead people to sadness and depression. I feel like sometimes you need the battery in your back of importance, not you being important
Yeah, not you being
to
important.
other people, but the time.
I love what he said there because Jim Carrey realized if there is no God, everything is meaningless. But then Jim Carrey became a Christian because of that meaningless points of life. He became a Christian because that gave him meaning, because he realized like there is meaning in Jesus and having a relationship with Jesus.
I have here, I want to believe it's really important, and I want to soak as much of it up as I can, you know. And I think sometimes when you're like, it's pointless, it's nothing. Like I thought like Jim Carrey was going through that moment. Like there are these times where I'd see Jim talking about like the insignificance of the world, and I feel like that can kind of like lead people to sadness and depression. I feel like sometimes you need the battery in your back of importance. Not you being important to other people, but the time you spend here being valuable.
Yeah. Well, that's part of gratitude too. That's one of your best traits. And having gratitude is, you would recognize that this time is precious, and use it to the best of your ability, and really like you enjoy it, like soak it up.
Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah, I did.
Like, I thought that was a beautiful way of showcasing how people look at like the nothingness of life.
Yeah.
This girl sees it as potentially nothing and falls into her own kind of, I guess you could call it this depression. Why is it worth it? What is going on?
Right.
And she kind of sees her father as this like weak guy that's getting like walked over. And then comes to realize that like he chooses to deal with the nothingness with kindness and love with everybody. And in reality, he's like a hero. Like, his perspective on the world is the best. When confronted with the nothingness of life, he chooses to like be compassionate and loving. And it's actually like the most heroic stand you can take. I think it's very easy to just submit to nothingness. You're determined is maybe the wrong word, but like, you like hard. The day you're no longer here is when you can no longer do hard. I feel like your day is full of it. And it's just constant. Like, wake up, I'm getting in the ice bath. Like, everything I see you do is hard. You know what I mean? Like, you could shoot a thing with a gun if you want. You could shoot animals with a gun. I'm surprised you don't run on them with a fucking knife. Like, literally, like, I feel like one day I'm going to see you go, I'm going knife hunting. I'm going bear knife hunting. Just because it's a difficult thing to do. And I don't know, maybe that's how you process existence.
Well, I think if you...
But the nothingness problem, though, even if you do all these amazing things and you're a hero in this world, there is no God, and we're all just created from nothingness, and evolution evolved and nothing created us, then everything still is meaningless. What you did on this earth, you just die and no one remembers you eventually anyway. And there's nothing to it. You're in the grave pit. You're fertilizer. That's sad. And that's why it's hard to put your mind around, and it just leaves a lot of people depressed. You can try all you want, but just to say I accept nothingness and still choose to be good and do life to others in a good way, that's very difficult for people to do.
Are a person who enjoys challenges and finds a reward in like working hard and overcoming that resistance inside of you, as Pressfield talks about, that thing that wants you to be lazy. If you have value in that, you find value in that, and it helps you live like a more enriched, more fulfilling life, you tend to just keep doing that. Because this is like, if I know for a fact, me, as much as I work out and take care of myself, if I take like 3 days off,
you'll start to get used to it?
I start getting depressed. I start getting anxious. I start feeling weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel level. Like, a couple of days off, you're just like, ugh, I just feel gross. I was just like, why is the world so weird? And then I'll have one good hard workout, and then I'm like, oh, everything's fine. And then I'm like, how many people need that and don't get it?
So what is that?
It's just a human body has certain requirements because it's designed to run from tigers. Okay? The human body.
But there's something to that. I love exercising and being consistent in my exercise, and when I don't, I feel like there's something off. I feel like I haven't accomplished what I needed to do. But there's something to like delaying your gratification, like doing something that is actually hard on your body. That obviously relieves stress, gets rid of a lot of the toxins within your body, makes you feel a lot better, makes you feel like you accomplished things. And when you finish, it rewards your body. That's why taking ice baths, the part where you're in the ice is not necessarily the part where it releases all the dopamine. It's when you get out of the ice. That's when it makes you feel good. Delaying gratification. That's also a very biblical...
It's designed to constantly
So you have to feed it.
Yeah,
you have to feed it. You have to deal with these difficult things because for millions of years, that's how our brains and bodies have been processed to work efficiently.
Yes.
And if you don't put in those situations, what is the messaging like? You're wasting this time here? Like,
Look,
what is that internal messaging?
You can have both, right? You can have people that have brilliant minds and bodies. They exist. There's people that don't take care of their
Stephen
body at
Hawking.
all, and Stephen Hawking. But he had a disease. But
he wasn't like an Adonis before.
right, that's true too.
Yeah.
Right.
People act like it's a big difference.
Yeah, but the best way for your brain to work well is if your body is healthy and has energy. It doesn't mean you have to be a weightlifter. It doesn't mean you don't have to do any specific thing. If you like running, run. If you like tennis, play tennis. If you like yoga, do yoga. But you should 100% do something. Find a thing you enjoy doing. That's why golf or tennis is such a great thing, because it's cardio and it's fun.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing a fun thing. You're playing with your friends. You're
Also
talking
community.
shit. Yeah, community.
Huge.
Yeah, but you're active. If you don't do that, I don't think your body is in sync. And I think there's a whole lot of people running out there taking care of things with pills that you could fix way better and feel and look better. More importantly, it would help in every aspect of your life. It would help you think clearer. You'd have less stress. You'd be more reasonable. Like, go do something with your goddamn body.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, I really believe if you don't do that, you have less potential. You could have a genius mind that allows you to overcome that potential, which is just pure intelligence.
So I had a grandpa who was super, super healthy. He worked until he was 85 years old. I mean, he wasn't super healthy, but he was very alert and able to work until he was 85. In the woods, he was a logger, cutting down trees, very physical things. And even he still lived at his house until he turned 90. And he's super healthy and active. He would still do his own firewood. And then when he turned 90, he decided he wanted to go to a nursing home. And when he went to the nursing home, that's when we saw a major decline in his health and his mindset and his state of mind, because he stopped doing normal day-to-day tasks and things that keep your body active and healthy, and that things that keep your body able to live. And that's something that is very true. But yeah, keep on watching, because I'm going to pull up a verse.
Pure insight on the world that's extraordinary. You could overcome hormone levels and body fat levels. You could, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're so smart and you got a terrible body.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You have one of these goddamn awesome.
Yeah.
You don't even do anything.
Yeah.
You have one of these.
Yeah.
You get one fucking body and yours is a dumpster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yours is a dumpster for potato chips. That's crazy.
What do you like when you're talking to these high functioning dudes? You're talking to an Elon. Did they value exercise and stuff like that at all? Like, can he even put that in his day?
Elon's a different animal. There's no other human I've ever met like him. No, I don't think he exercises much. I think maybe a little bit. I know he was thinking about fighting Zuckerberg, so he did some training.
He didn't want that
He trained
smoke.
with Lex and who else? Was it George St. Pierre? They put up a photo of it. It was George, right? So he trains with one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time.
Yeah.
Lex Friedman, our boy, who is also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Yeah.
And I think he just did a little bit of that. It was like this.
Shout out Lex,
Yeah,
man.
there it is.
Look at
and
Lex.
John Danaher, the great John Danaher, the greatest jiu-jitsu coach of all time. So he was learning some stuff.
I'll never forget Lex coming to my wedding uninvited and blacking out. I'll never forget that. Thank you, Lex. We really appreciate that.
In all fairness, it was my fault that he blacked out.
You forced him to drink.
I kind of got him a drink and didn't realize the Russian in him had a mind of its own.
So that's super interesting. So now I have a Bible verse I want to pull up for you guys. Ecclesiastes 1. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Everything is meaningless. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? Generations come from generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, then hurries around to rise again. The wind blows and the wind blows south and then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes the wealth away and gives it to those who please him. That is so amazing. I think when you only think about here and now, here on this earth, you are left with a lot of depression, anxiety. But if we have a place, a home, and a future. So guys, I encourage you all to go to Jesus. Trust in him. If you're feeling like there's nothing meaningful in your life and everything is just nothing worth it, go to Jesus. He will give you purpose and meaning.